Hello dear YouTube Sangha. Welcome to the fourth Dharma story on the Peace of Mind channel. This story was adapted from earlier suttas and sutras and is being narrated and illustrated by Dharma Peace. This particular Dharma story begins in ancient history and then progresses to our lived experiences today. We follow Mahā-Moggallāna, foremost in psychic vision among the Buddha's disciples, and he encounters hungry ghosts and learns why beings fall into such states. Drawing from the Petavatthu the Khuddaka Nikāya, the Ullambana Sūtra, and related attestations, this story explores how the Buddha explained these realms of suffering, how Moggallāna's own mother fell into such rebirth, and how we can apply these teachings in one of many practical ways today. Hungry ghosts appear not only in ancient forests, but all around us, in places marked by poverty, addiction, and neglect. By learning to see them with compassion, we continue the work that Moggallāna began. On an evening when the light bent low over Rajagaha, Mahā-Moggallāna descended Vulture Peak and saw with his unclouded Diba-Chakku, or divine eye, a ghost wandering along the stony path that took rest, its body thin as reeds, its mouth aflame, its stomach distended with unquenchable hunger. When he returned to the Sangha, he described what he had seen. Many monks furrowed their brows in doubt, for such pitiable beings were invisible to ordinary eyes. But the Buddha affirmed Moggallāna's vision, explaining that such ghosts were living consequences of their past deeds. Because of harsh speech, stinginess, and unwholesome intentions, the Buddha said, this being now wanders with burning thirst. What the noble disciple sees accords with the Dharma. And thus Moggallāna's sight became a lesson for the whole assembly. After this, Moggallāna encountered many such spirits, some with mouths as small as the needle's eye, some chased eternally by packs of dogs, some who grasped that food that turned to fire between their fingers. Each sight, recorded in spirit across the Petavatthu, revealed a moral teaching. Misers became hollow, slanderers became tongueless, those who delighted in others' pain became scorched by their own unseen flames. But as attested in the Ullambana Sūtra, the most piercing encounter of all came when Moggallāna saw a woman wrapped in smoke and regret, her hair hanging like burned grass. It was his mother, reborn as a peta, or hungry ghost, for her deep disdain toward the triple gem, which is the Buddha, the Dhamma, and the Sangha, for scorning generosity, the Sangha, and the teachings of liberation. When Moggallāna beheld his mother's torment, he rushed to the Buddha, shaken and desperate for a way to help her. The Buddha instructed him that beings trapped in such unfortunate rebirths could not be freed from sorrow alone, but through shared merit generated by wholesome action. He advised Moggallāna to gather Sangha at the end of the rain's retreat and make abundant offerings, robes, food, medicine, and shelter. To the community of monks, the collective merit of these pure gifts, dedicated to his mother, would nourish her in the only way a peta, or hungry ghost, could receive nourishment. Not through physical food, which turned to flames in her grasp, but through the karmic efforts transferred by compassionate intention. Following the Buddha's guidance, Moggallāna and the Sangha performed this great act of generosity, and as the merit reached her, his mother's suffering eased, the smoke around her lifted, and she was reborn, no longer as a hungry ghost. Thus began the tradition of Ullambana, a yearly expression of filial piety and compassion rooted in the Buddha's teaching that one's wholesome actions can illuminate even the darkest realms. Here the story leaves the ancient forests and enters our own. For the Buddha taught that greed or lobha, aversion, dosa, and delusion, moha, are not only causes of rebirth, they are forces that shape the world now. Modern life is filled with addictions, compulsions, and the ache of disconnection. Many people wander through their days with thirst that nothing seems to quench, consuming endlessly, seeking briefly, disappearing suddenly. In this sense, hungry ghosts are not merely supernatural beings. They are the forms taken by suffering when a mind is overwhelmed by craving and confusion. In the Buddhist tradition, hungry ghosts appear where suffering is ignored or rendered socially invisible. We encounter their human counterparts in those pushed to the margins, people living with addiction, untreated mental illness, or chronic poverty, whose conditions reflect systems that fail them. They are not supernatural beings, but they frighten people nonetheless. They are reminders that deprivation is produced, maintained, and often overlooked. But we know if we weigh the circumstances of our own lives, they represent what could happen to us. In this sense, Moggallāna's Diba Chaku, or divine eye, functions not as a mystical superpower, but as a form of ethical insight to see what society trains us not to see. I think one quality of such an eye is the capacity for empathy. In a time when the very concept of empathy is being undermined, it becomes clear that this faculty isn't just a given, but something of a talent or latent ability that often needs to be drawn out or discovered, much like a Diba Chaku. So, this is why we Buddhists commit to the practice of meditation and merit. We are cultivating the ability to see where help, support, and consideration are needed. And like Moggallāna, we engaged Buddhists gain merit simply by recognizing their presence, by refusing to turn away. But compassion requires skill, and the Buddha warned against sacrificing one's well-being in ways that harm both oneself and others. As he said in the Dhammapada, let one not neglect one's own welfare for the sake of another, however great. Clearly understanding one's own welfare, let one be intent upon the good. Just as in an airplane, we secure our own oxygen mask before helping another. We must ground ourselves in mindfulness, stability, and wisdom before we can meaningfully support beings in intense suffering. Only from a place of balance can generosity truly flow. Hungry ghosts are therefore not only beings of an unfortunate rebirth, they are the forgotten and wounded living among us. To help them is to practice in the spirit of Moggallāna and Ullambana, where an entire community gathers to share merit, compassion, and nourishment with those in need. Thich Nhat Hanh teaches that we should see even the hungry ghosts in our own families with the eyes of understanding. Imagine them as they once were, a 5-year-old boy or girl, vulnerable and longing to be held. When we look at suffering beings this way, with the eyes of Moggallāna and the heart of the Buddha, we lift them, even briefly, from the shadows in which they wander. As we come to the end of this Dharma story, may we remember that the world is full of beings who are thirsty for understanding, connection, and relief, and even more so, empathy. I hope now you can see the tale of Mahā-Moggallāna and the hungry ghosts as a call to deepen our perception and widen our compassion. The Peace of Mind Collective of engaged Buddhists advocates for the well-being of all people, including the lost, the unseen, and the forgotten. We commit never to close our Diba Chaku, our capacity to see suffering clearly, or to turn away from those who wander in hardship. As you go about your days, consider this question: where in your own life is there someone who longs to be seen, and what small act of compassion might ease their hunger? May your practice be grounded, courageous, and nourishing for yourself and for all beings who share this world with you. I've been Dharma Peace. If you made it to the end of this video, sadhu 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 to you. And until next time, may you be happy and well.